Welcome to Global WarWatch Network. You hear about hypersonic missiles that seem impossible to stop, lasers taking down drones. It feels like nations are really sprinting into a new era of warfare.
They really are. And the pace of innovation, it's faster than ever before. It's blurring the lines between, well, science fiction and what's actually happening on the ground.
It raises huge questions. So our mission today is to try and figure out who's really leading this tech race, what it all means for global security, and, frankly, what it means for all of us.
Exactly. Understanding these shifts is vital.
We've pulled together insights from expert analyses, government reports, think Congressional Research Service, defense publications, to give you the core information you need.
It's crucial stuff. The battlefield is changing right under our feet.
Okay, let's dive in. First up, something that sounds straight out of the movies. Directed energy weapons, or DWs.
Right. So DWs, they're systems that use focused energy. Think high-powered lasers, microwaves, even particle beams.
To do what exactly? Damage things.
Yeah.
Disable them.
All of the above. Incapacitate, damage, or destroy enemy assets. The key thing, though, is they work at the speed of light. Engagement is instantaneous, unlike, a traditional missile.
Speed of light. Wow. But their effectiveness isn't guaranteed, is it?
No, not at all. It depends heavily on factors like the energy output, the distance to the target, and, crucially, atmospheric conditions. Fog, rain, dust, they can really mess with performance.
So the main type we're seeing developed are these high-energy lasers, HELs.
That's right. HELs are the most prominent. They emit these concentrated beams of light, and the power can range hugely, from just a few kilowatts up to several megawatts.
And that range gives them some real advantages, I imagine.
Definitely. First, cost. Once you've built the system, assuming you have power, you can fire almost indefinitely. No need for constant, expensive ammo resupply. That's huge.
Okay, cheap shots, basically.
In a way, yeah. And they're incredibly precise. You can target specific components, minimizing collateral damage. Plus, that speed of light thing makes them deadly against fast movers like missiles and drones.
Especially those drone swarms we keep hearing about.
Exactly. They're potentially very effective there. And versatile, too. You can tune the effect from non-lethal, just disabling electronics, to lethal destruction.
Sounds almost too good to be true. What are the catches? You mentioned weather.
Weather's a big one. Atmospheric interference can scatter or absorb the energy. Range is another limitation. Effectiveness drops off with distance, and you need line of sight.
Right, can't shoot through a mountain.
Pretty much. And these high-energy systems, they need a lot of power. That means big, potentially less mobile power sources. Plus, there are regulatory and ethical questions bubbling up, too.
So who's pushing forward with this? The U.S. is involved, obviously.
Oh, heavily. Significant investments. They're putting HELs on naval ships, developing ground-based systems. Remember the LOT-OS system on the USS Ponce back in 2014? That was 30 kilowatts.
I do remember that, yeah. First operational one.
And now the 60-kilowatt Helios is on the USS Preble. The Army deployed 50-kilowatt mobile air defense prototypes just last year.
And they're aiming higher.
It's much higher. DoD wants 500-kilowatt class systems by FY 2025, and they're looking towards megawatt levels by FY 2026.
What about China? They're usually in the mix.
Absolutely. China's actively developing DWs-2 lasers, microwaves. Reports mention a 30-kilowatt road mobile system called the LW-30, designed for drones and precision weapons.
And anti-satellite capabilities.
That's the concern. Reports suggest they might have fielded a ground-based laser against low-orbit sensors around 2020, with higher power anti-satellite systems potentially coming online mid to late 2020s.
And others. India? Russia?
India's DRDO is working on projects like Kalai and DUR-GA, specifically focused on countering drones. Russia's been researching HEL since the 60s. They've reportedly deployed the Przet system.
The mobile laser.
Yeah, a ground-based HEL meant to dazzle satellites and provide some defense against drones. They're apparently trying to boost its power and put it on aircraft, too.
So the big picture on DGWs.
It's this dual capability, really. A defensive shield, especially against cheap drones, but also a new offensive tool.
Yeah.
It changes the economics of missile defense, but you have these major constraints: power, range, weather. And the ethical questions around instantaneous, potentially invisible weapons are still very much there.
Okay, moving from light speed to just.
Yeah.
Incredibly fast. Hypersonics. This is the tech that seems to have everyone really talking, maybe even worried.
Yeah, hypersonics are definitely getting attention. And it's not just the speed, though Mach 5 Plus is obviously impressive. It's the unpredictability.
How so? They don't just fly straight.
Exactly. Unlike a ballistic missile, which follows a largely predictable arc, hypersonic weapons can maneuver during flight. That makes intercepting them incredibly difficult with current systems.
And there are different types, right? Glide vehicles and cruise missiles.
Correct. You have hypersonic glide vehicles, HGVs. They get boosted up high by a rocket, then detach and glide, maneuvering towards their target. Then you have hypersonic cruise missiles, HACMs, powered by advanced air-breathing engines like scramjets throughout their flight.
The strategic implications seem huge. Faster attack, less warning time, harder to know where it's going.
That's one school of thought. The short flight time compresses response windows, and the maneuvering creates uncertainty about the target. This could potentially increase the risk of miscalculation in a crisis.
But some analysts push back on that.
They do. Some argue that major powers already possess ICBMs that can overwhelm defenses anyway, so hypersonics don't fundamentally change the deterrence calculus. Traditional deterrence, they say, still holds.
But defending against them is harder.
Undeniably. Current sensor networks, both on the ground and in space, struggle to detect and track them. They're apparently 10 to 20 times dimmer than the objects satellites normally track, and our command and control might just be too slow to react effectively.
So who's winning this hypersonic race? What's the U.S. doing?
The U.S. is focused on conventionally armed systems. These need extreme accuracy, making them technically very challenging. They're not expected to field an operational weapon before maybe FY 2025, perhaps a bit later now.
Which programs are key?
The Navy's Conventional Prompt Strike, or CPS, it was planned for the Zumwalt destroyers, now pushed back a bit, also maybe Ohio-class subs soon, then Virginia-class and Burke-class destroyers. They've had some successful end-to-end tests of the all-up round, the complete missile system.
And the Army and Air Force.
The Army has the Long-Range Hypersonic Weapon, LRHW, aiming for a strategic strike capability over 1,700 miles. They just had their first live-fire test using the whole system launcher Operations Center. The Air Force concluded its ARW program after mixed tests and is now really focused on the Hypersonic Attack Cruise Missile, HACM. There's also Project Mayhem, looking at a potential Mach 10 uncrewed hypersonic bomber for strike and surveillance.
What about defenses? Are we building ways to stop these?
It's a major effort. The Missile Defense Agency, NDA, is developing the Glide Phase Interceptor, or GPI. It's a regional sea-based system co-developed with Japan, but initial capability isn't expected until maybe 2035.
2035? That's a ways off.
It is. They're also working on the Hypersonic and Ballistic Tracking Space Sensor, HBTSS, satellites specifically designed to improve detection and tracking from space. DARPA has the Light Breaker, focused on the component tech needed for an interceptor.
And we have the facilities to test all this.
Yes, the U.S. has robust R&D infrastructure, hypersonic wind tunnels, open air ranges. DoD has invested about $1 billion in modernizing these facilities over the last decade or so. There's also collaboration like flight testing with Australia.
Now China. They seem to be prioritizing this heavily.
Very heavily. It's seen partly as a way to counter U.S. regional missile defenses. They reportedly have the DF-41 ICBM, which could carry a nuclear HGV. And they tested that nuclear-capable HGV in 2021.
The one launched by that unusual system.
Right. The Fractional Orbital Bombardment System, FOBS. It gives the weapon a highly unpredictable trajectory, potentially flying partway around the globe before heading to target. Very hard to track early on.
What specific systems do they have?
The DF-ZF HGV, capable of Mach 5 to 10, is thought by some analysts to have been operational since around 2020. There's also the Starry Sky 2 prototype, a nuclear-capable wave rider design.
A wave rider?
Yeah, it uses its own shockwaves to generate lift during powered flight. It apparently hit Mach 6 in tests and could be operational by 2025. And their testing infrastructure is impressive. They reportedly conducted far more tests than the U.S. up to 2018, and they just finished the JF-22 wind tunnel, capable of simulating speeds up to Mach 30.
Mach 30. Incredible. What about Russia?
Russia ramped up efforts partly in response to U.S. missile defense deployments. They claim to have deployed the Avangard HGV on some of their SS-19 ICBMs.
And the Zircon and Kinzhal.
Yes, Zircon is a sea-launched hypersonic cruise missile, supposedly Mach 8 or 9, deployed on frigates and submarines. Kinzhal is an air-launched ballistic missile, often mentioned alongside hypersonics, claiming Mach 10-plus speeds. They also have the Sarmat ICBM, which can carry Avangard.
And India, are they in this race too?
They are. India has collaborated with Russia on the BrahMos II, a Mach 7 hypersonic cruise missile, expected operationally maybe between 2025 and 2028. They're also developing their own indigenous hypersonic technology demonstrator vehicle, HSTDV, and successfully tested a Mach 6 scramjet. There were reports late last year of them testing a domestic hypersonic weapon, too.
So connecting the dots on hypersonics.
It's really about changing the fundamental rules of deterrence. Speed plus maneuverability shrinks reaction times and challenges existing defenses. It forces nations to reconsider threat perception and response, especially when reliable defenses are still, well, lagging behind the offensive capabilities.
Okay, let's shift gears into the digital domain. Artificial intelligence. AI is everywhere, and it's definitely transforming the battlefield.
Absolutely. And we're not talking about Hollywood's sci-fi AI, not yet anyway. When policymakers discuss military AI, they mostly mean narrow AI.
Meaning AI that does specific tasks.
Exactly. Systems trained for specific jobs, unlike a hypothetical general AI that could think broadly like a human. Current military uses are all narrow AI for intelligence analysis, surveillance, reconnaissance, ISR. Also logistics, cyber operations, command and control, and enabling autonomous or semi-autonomous vehicles.
So the aim is to help humans or replace them.
Both, really. Augmenting human capabilities, allowing forces to react faster, cope with massive amounts of data, but also enabling new concepts like drone swarms, where machines coordinate actions faster than humans could manage.
But AI comes with risks, right? We hear about bias.
Big risks. Algorithmic bias is a major one. If the data used to train the AI is biased, the AI will be too. Think facial recognition having higher error rates for certain demographics. Imagine that applied in target identification. It could lead to tragic misidentification.
And AI can be unpredictable.
It can. Narrow AI might find unconventional solutions or pathways that humans wouldn't expect. Sometimes that's good, but it could also lead to unexpected failures, especially if an adversary figures out how to exploit a weird quirk in the AI's thinking. Think of those examples where slightly changing an image makes an AI misclassify it completely.
That sounds worrying if it's controlling weapons.
Deeply worrying. That's a huge ethical concern, systems potentially making unauthorized engagements. And then you have deepfakes. AI making fake video, audio, photos, getting incredibly realistic. Adversaries could use these in gray zone conflicts to spread disinformation, sow chaos, erode trust.
How are the major players approaching AI development? What's the U.S. doing?
U.S. investment has ramped up significantly, around $1.8 billion in FY 2024, with over 685 active projects noted. They set up the Joint AI Center, now part of the Chief Digital and Artificial Intelligence Office, the CDAO, to coordinate efforts. Crucially, the U.S. DoD adopted 5 ethical principles for AI use.
What are they?
Responsibility, equitability, traceability, reliability, and governability, trying to build ethical guardrails from the start.
And China, often seen as the main competitor here.
Widely viewed as the closest competitor, yes. Their 2017 AI plan calls it a strategic technology. They're heavily invested in areas like facial and language recognition, swarm tech, AI for cyber ops, and their military-civil fusion policy is critical. It allows the government direct access to AI developed by civilian companies.
What about Russia's AI efforts?
Russia lags behind the U.S. and China in AI development, but they do have a national strategy. They seem focused on semi-autonomous and autonomous military vehicles, like combat robots that can identify targets on their own. They also use AI for things like remote sensing, electronic warfare, and extensively in domestic propaganda and information warfare.
Are there international efforts to manage this?
There are. Institutions like the G7, APEC, the OECD have looked at AI. The OECD developed the first intergovernmental principles, adopted by 42 countries. NATO has its own AI strategy focused on responsible use. And partnerships like AUKUS, US, Australia, UK include cooperation on defense AI.
So the key takeaway for AI in warfare is?
It's about speed and scale. AI allows militaries to process information and react far faster, enabling new tactics and potentially shifting the balance of power. But the challenge is bias, unpredictability, ethical control, deepfakes are immense and demand constant attention and regulation.
Building directly on AI, let's talk about the machines themselves specifically. Lethal autonomous weapon systems, or LAWL-FS, killer robots, essentially.
That's the common term, though the official definition is more precise. The U.S. DoD defines laws as systems that can independently search for, identify, decide to engage, and then destroy a target, all without a human giving the final command.
So human out-of-the-loop autonomy.
Exactly. That's the key distinction from human on the loop, where an operator monitors and can intervene, or human in the loop, where the human makes the actual decision to fire. Laws operate fully on their own once activated.
Why would militaries want that capability? What are the benefits?
The potential operational benefits are significant. Laws could operate in environments where communications are jammed or denied, places too dangerous for humans. They could potentially react faster and maybe even strike targets more precisely, reducing collateral damage in some scenarios.
But the ethical alarm bells are ringing loudly here.
Very loudly. Many groups, around 30 countries, numerous NGOs, are calling for a preemptive ban. The core concerns are ethical. Can a machine truly comply with the laws of war, like proportionality and distinction? Who is accountable if a loss makes a mistake?
What kind of mistakes are we talking about?
Risks include hacking, an enemy manipulating the AI's behavior, unexpected interactions with the environment, or just software errors or malfunctions. Any of these could lead to unintended targets being hit, potentially causing large-scale fratricide or civilian casualties. The Martens Clause in international law is often cited.
Remind us what that says.
It basically states that even where specific laws don't exist, weapon use should conform to the principles of humanity and the dictates of the public conscience. Many argue laws inherently violate this.
So where do countries stand? Does the U.S. have laws?
Currently, no laws are in the U.S. inventory. However, there's no official prohibition on developing them. DoD Directive 3000.09 sets guidelines, emphasizing appropriate levels of human judgment and rigorous testing to ensure they operate safely and as intended under the laws of war.
What about China and Russia?
China also has no ban on development. Some Chinese defense companies have actually advertised autonomous targeting features on their weapons. China has its own definition of laws based on attributes like lethality, autonomy, and indiscriminate effect. Russia has proposed a definition focusing on operation without any involvement of the operator after deployment. They sometimes suggest law dabas could increase accuracy and lower civilian harm. The Russian company Kalashnikov reportedly has built a combat module for ground vehicles with autonomous target ID, possibly engagement too.
Are there international discussions trying to regulate this?
Yes, discussions are ongoing under the UN Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, the CCW, but there's disagreement. The US and Russia oppose a preemptive ban. China supports banning the use of laws, but not their development or production. The U.S. has instead proposed a non-binding code of conduct and issued a political declaration on responsible military use of AI and autonomy, which about 50 states have endorsed.
So the heart of the laws debate is?
It's this fundamental tension. Operational advantage versus moral accountability. Can we, or should we, delegate life and death decisions entirely to machines? There are no easy answers, legally or ethically, and the international community is still grappling with how to proceed.
Okay, from algorithms and robots to biology. Biotechnology is another frontier, opening up possibilities that seem both amazing and, frankly, quite disturbing for military use.
It really is a profound shift. We're talking about the potential to use advances in biology to modify plants, animals, even humans for military purposes.
Enhancing soldiers.
That's one aspect, potentially enhancing physical or cognitive performance, resilience, recovery, but also things like adaptive camouflage inspired by nature, new lightweight, self-healing armor materials. The possibilities are vast.
And the dark side. Biological weapons.
That's a major concern. Advances in synthetic biology could make it easier for more actor states or even non-state groups to create novel chemical or biological weapons. Genome editing has even been flagged as potentially enabling a new class of weapons of mass destruction.
The ethical dimension here feels particularly sharp, especially thinking about human enhancement.
It is incredibly sharp. There are significant concerns that competitors might not share the same ethical boundaries, particularly regarding things like biological weapons development, certain types of genome editing on humans, or highly invasive performance modifications. And currently, the U.S. doesn't have a specific national framework just for examining these military bioethics concerns.
What are we seeing globally?
Yeah.
U.S. investment.
The U.S. DoD requested about $1.3 billion for biotech efforts last year. Public programs focus on improving soldier readiness and resilience, better battlefield medicine, diagnostics, treating brain injuries, protecting against diseases. DARPA has the Safe Genes program specifically designed to counter the misuse of genome editing. There's also investment in biomanufacturing for critical materials like fuels or composites. And the Biden administration put out a national biodefense strategy.
China's a big player in biotech generally.
Yeah. Huge. Biotechnology is a key strategic priority for them, driven partly by their aging population and healthcare needs. They're very advanced in genetic testing, precision medicine. Remember, Chinese scientists were the first to use CRISPR gene editing on human embryos back in 2016, and then controversially produced the first gene-edited babies in 2018.
That caused a global outcry.
It did. And China has massive genetic databases, like their national genobank. There are concerns these could potentially be used to develop precision bioweapons targeting specific populations. And again, that military-civil fusion policy means the PLA can readily leverage civilian biotech advances.
And Russia's role in military biotech.
The research seems to lag behind the US and China. There isn't much public info on specific military applications, but, well, their history is concerning. Past accusations of using Novichok nerve agents, which are chemical weapons, and the sheer scale of the Soviet-era bioprepper biological weapons program suggest a historical willingness to weaponize biology. The U.S. has identified several Russian institutes it believes are still linked to biological weapons work.
Is any of this regulated internationally?
Only the outright weaponization of biology is prohibited under international law, mainly by the 1972 Biological Weapons Convention, which the US, China, and Russia have all ratified. Other bodies monitor biotech developments more broadly, but not specifically military applications. Discussions are ongoing about needing a framework for the militarization of biotech itself.
So the essence of the biotech challenge is?
It's this powerful dual-use nature. Tools that can heal and protect can also be turned into weapons of unprecedented kinds. Without strong international ethical norms and potentially new regulations, we risk heading into uncharted territory regarding human enhancement and biological warfare, really questioning the future of humanity in conflict.
Finally, let's touch on quantum technology. This sounds like the most futuristic of all, promising revolutions in computing, sensing, communication.
It definitely has that futuristic feel, partly because it's based on the genuinely weird principles of quantum physics, things like superposition and entanglement. It's not fully mature tech yet, but the potential military impacts are staggering.
Like breaking encryption.
That's the big one. A powerful enough quantum computer could theoretically break the encryption methods we currently use to protect classified information, financial systems, everything. That's a massive vulnerability.
But quantum can also help security.
Yes, that's the flip side. Quantum communication techniques promise inherently secure channels that cannot be intercepted or decrypted by conventional means, or even potentially by other quantum computers.
And sensing. You mentioned making oceans transparent.
Potentially, yes. Quantum sensors could become sensitive enough to detect tiny gravitational or magnetic fluctuations caused by submarines, possibly undermining the stealth advantage they currently rely on. That would completely change naval warfare and deterrence. Quantum sensing could also provide super precise navigation and timing independent of GPS, which is vital if GPS signals are jammed or spoofed.
What's holding quantum back from taking over right now?
The main challenge is the extreme fragility of quantum states. They're easily disrupted by tiny changes in temperature, vibration, or just background noise. So many current quantum devices need specialized environments, like extreme cooling, making them bulky, expensive, and power-hungry. We need breakthroughs in material science to make them more practical for widespread military use.
How are the key nations doing in the quantum race? U.S. progress.
The U.S. is focused across the board. Quantum sensing is seen as nearest term for actual deployment. Quantum computing for code breaking, signal processing, maybe boosting AI, and quantum communications for secure networking. A huge effort is underway on post-quantum cryptography.
Meaning encryption that quantum computers can't break.
Exactly, quantum-resistant algorithms. The NSA wants national security systems transition to these by 2035. DARPA and the military services are funding lots of quantum research projects.
But China is considered a leader here.
Yeah. Yes, China is a world leader in quantum, particularly in quantum communications. President Xi has made quantum a major national priority. Back in 2016, they launched MISSIS, the world's first quantum satellite, demonstrating secure communication over long distances, even intercontinentally via video conference by 2017. They built a 2,000-kilometer quantum network on the ground years ago and plan to expand it nationwide. Military-civil fusion ensures these advances feed into military applications.
Where does Russia stand in quantum?
Russia is significantly behind the US and China, maybe 5 to 10 years behind in quantum computing, according to estimates. They announced investment plans back in 2019 and have a roadmap, but there's limited public information on specific military applications. And internationally, there really aren't any major bodies specifically focused on regulating military quantum tech yet.
So the core quantum dynamic is,
It's this race where quantum computing threatens to break all current secrets, while quantum communication promises unbreakable secrets. Whoever masters this first gains a potentially decisive intelligence advantage, impacting everything from spying to battlefield command. It forces a complete rethink of data security.
okay, we've covered a lot of ground lasers, hypersonics, AI, robots, biotech, quantum, and individually they're transformative. What does it all mean when you put it together for global power dynamics and the future of war?
Well, you clearly see the US, China, and Russia as the primary strategic competitors pushing these boundaries. Each is driven by national security imperatives, trying to gain an edge or counter the advantages of others. India is also emerging as a really significant player, especially in DUWs and hypersonics.
And the technology itself is changing things.
Fundamentally, the sheer pace, often driven by commercial sector innovation spilling over, is reshaping the military landscape faster than ever before.
How does it change actual warfighting?
It likely accelerates it. AI, autonomy, they could reduce or remove human decision-making bottlenecks, speeding up combat, potentially in ways that are destabilizing if things spiral out of control. You also get entirely new capabilities from combining these techs, AI managing a swarm of hypersonic drones maybe, or biotech brain-computer interfaces linked to AI targeting systems.
Which sounds like it could also lead to new kinds of failures.
Exactly. Unforeseen consequences, complex interactions leading to catastrophic errors. Imagine an autonomous system malfunctioning in a way that causes mass casualties because the kill chain is entirely automated.
Which brings us back to the ethics and governance.
Absolutely the critical point. Laud obvious, human enhancement via biotech, weaponizing biology, these raise profound questions about humanity's role in conflict, about responsibility. The Martens Clause comes up again. Are these technologies compatible with the dictates of the public conscience?
And regulation is struggling to keep up.
Massively. Technology sprints ahead while laws and norms develop slowly. There's a real risk that dangerous precedents get set before we even have a chance to debate them properly. That's why sustained diplomatic engagement, trying to build consensus on norms and standards, is so vital right now. There are also huge resource challenges, stable R&D funding, getting the right skilled people, adapting acquisition processes for fast-moving tech, securing complex supply chains.
So is this just a new high-tech arms race, or is there a chance for cooperation?
That really is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Are we just accelerating towards a more dangerous, unstable future? Or can international cooperation establish meaningful guardrails? Especially as the human element, that direct human judgment, seems to be getting pushed further and further away from the actual act of using force.
It's an incredible and perhaps unsettling transformation happening right now. The landscape of warfare is shifting under our feet, driven by these technologies. So much potential, but so many profound risks, too. It really demands our constant attention.
It really does.
So here's something to think about. As machines get smarter and more autonomous, and maybe even our soldiers become biologically or technologically enhanced, what does the human element in war even mean anymore? And what's the real cost of chasing technological superiority without a clear, shared ethical foundation?
A crucial question for our time.
Thank you for your time and participation today. Please like, share, and subscribe to Global WarWatch Network. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and you can find links to join us on social media in the description.